Hello, this is Kara again, and well, you guys know who I am because you guys are patrons, but I wanted to try to offer you guys something different to try to add additional value for the channel and for guys who people who have gone out of their way to be patrons and to have offered me something, and I wanted to try to offer you guys more value, but at the same time it's hard for me because I'm not really a professional artist, as you guys know, and that's part of the the deal, is that we're all learning together, but at the same time I still wanted to try to offer you guys something that's a little bit more of value. So I thought that one of the things that I think might be helpful is if I did these lessons, maybe I'll do these lessons monthly or bi-monthly. And I'm using the term lesson for want of a better word, but essentially what we're doing here is I will try to work with you at the same time. We're going to do the same exercise together. And these are some of the exercises that I've used to help improve my coloring and to help improve my freehand sketching. This is a freehand sketch. This isn't a colored piece. This is done with watercolor pencil, but I've used a lot of the same techniques for freehand sketching and as well as colored pages. So one of the things that I think a lot of people struggle with in terms of coloring as well as freehand sketching is your light source and getting it to look natural. And so I think a good exercise is to try to create a simple shape and to use that simple shape to sort of expand that idea and to create something that's maybe a little bit more complicated, just starting off a simple shape. So hold on, let me move the mic a little. Okay, the mic has been moved a little. And so what I'm going to do here is we are going to do this, and we're going to recreate these simple shapes, and I'm going to show you how to do them. You don't need to draw to know how to draw to make these, and you can make a lot of these, and you can use these to practice your coloring and your light source. And I'm going to show you how to do them, and all you need, you either need to, draw circles or be willing to draw your own circles, or what I use is I just used a stencil. So we're just going to go from start all the way to finish, and I'm going to do the stenciling with my Polychromos, but then I'm going to do the actual coloring with a different brand of pencil because I don't want to use all my Polychromos for this exercise, because it doesn't really matter the brand. You're essentially just learning how to work with light source and that sort of thing, and the different kinds of light sources. As you can see from this, you can clearly see from the piece, and this has the advantage of being done from life. And drawing from life I found to be a lot easier because you get closer to what it is that you want to do. You have it in front of you, you can move it around. What I like to do, I have a hard time doing food, in part because I get so obsessed with the technicalities, but also because I end up eating and drinking it. So what I do when I'm doing food is I take a picture of it, but I still keep the object. So I still have like the plate or whatever. So that's why with something like this, you'll see that for a lot of my drawings, the thing around the food itself will have a little bit more detail because I ate the food. I mean, I took a picture of it, but I did drink this tea really fast. So anyway, so that's neither here nor there. So, but you can see, based on this, you can see where the light is coming from. You can see the shadows here, and there's some more shadows here. And I had it, like I said, I had it in life, so it was a lot easier to do because I had it in life. But this pencil fell, so the tip did break off a little bit, but hopefully we can still use it to do this. So what we're going to do for this exercise is we're going to talk about the different kinds of light sources, and there's a number of different kinds, but mainly for adult coloring, the two main kinds that you see external light source, and in this case the external light source is all coming from the same source, but you could actually do an external light source where the light is coming from a different source for each object. Or a sort of internal light source where the object seems to glow from within, or that sort of thing. So that's what this is. This has an internal light source. And whereas in this case, all the light sources are coming all from all the objects are getting the same light source. In this case, each object has its own internal light source, and that's going to affect the way that your piece is going to ultimately look. So to practice this and to get a lot of practice, this is super easy. So what you do is you draw your first circle. Now this is hold on, I may need to sharpen this pencil. I may need to take a break and sharpen this pencil. Yeah, this pencil's in a bad way. The other one is going to be right here. So then I start here where the other one left off. I'm going to sharpen this pencil. Hold on. So that's where, now you got your 2, and this one is behind it. So this one is behind it. Okay. So now that one is behind it, and you can do that for pretty much for all of them. I like to do 3 objects just because it's an easy number to do. You can do this, but you can do this with any shape object. It doesn't have to be a circle. I use a circle just because it's, you know, it's super easy and it's super convenient. But you can do this with the triangles. You can make little cones out of the triangles. Okay, yeah, that's from not having the pencil sharpened. That's on me. All right, that's from not having the pencil sharpened, but you guys get the idea. I'm gonna have to sharpen this pencil in a minute, but that's not really an issue right now. So then I'm just gonna pick colors at random, and I'm basically picking colors that I have a lot of. That's basically it. It's not really anything particular. Okay, so so what I'm going to try to do for both of these is I'm going to try to do, let's see, I'm going to try to do an external light source coming from here. So it's kind of coming up here. So, you know, for a fact that this here is going to be, and with this, when you're doing exercise like this, I don't worry about the direction. Like if I was doing this more of a finished piece, then I would be more mindful of the direction. But in this case, I'm more concerned about getting the light source back. And then once you get, you know, once you've done a little bit more, you can see that there'll be, so this area will be dark. Right here, there'll be some dark, and then sometimes some of the objects will reflect. That's why it's a good thing to have a real life object with you to do this. But in this case, we're just trying to do this. It's just a basic, simple exercise to try to practice light source. So you can see that I'm sort of imagining if I had a light bulb pointed over here. So then this right here would be darker right here. And as I go, I try to change pencils a little bit. That's the one thing with these Color Soft is that they the Color Soft they because they're so soft, they do the point goes down quite a bit. But since I already finished the review with these, I feel comfortable using these pretty much to my heart content. I don't feel like I have to have any saved. So in this case, it doesn't really matter, you know, the direction. Like I'm not trying to make perfect art here. All I'm trying to do here is to just work on the light and the shadow, and to try to figure out like where the light and the shadow would be. And then, so say for example, this object was on a surface, then the surface of that object, there would both be reflections from the surface. If it's a light colored surface, you would get a little bit of a reflection here, so you could use either a gel pen or just not actually go as deep as that. But you know, let's say I already did, so I would go back in with like a gel pen or something and darken this up a little bit. But in this case, so let's say the surface is a similar color, and the surface is like a matte surface, and there really wouldn't be as much light reflected on there if this is a matte, sort of a less shiny surface. So, and then the shinier the object, the more intense. So like, let's say this is a super shiny ball, then it's going to be, you know, it's going to be a more intense sort of light and shadow play. So, but you can see how you start with a couple of circles, and all you do is you put in a little bit of shading. And if you guys haven't seen the layering video that I did in the past. That video is really helpful for this exercise. But again, you're sort of just working with where you would think the light and shadow would be, and then you kind of step back and you see, okay, it does kind of look like there's, you know, they're all coming in the, you know, the light is all coming kind of sort of in the same direction. And, you know, that's what you would use for external light source, where all the light source is coming from a similar direction. So, and in this case, you know, I decided not to focus too much on that, but, so that's how you would do that. Now, let's say you wanted to do, a lot of times people will do an object with having its own, internal light source for coloring, and for general, you know, for coloring as well as for freehand sketching, like for impact. Like a lot of times that can have a really huge impact if you provide the, so this can have a really huge, it can be really sort of a pow and a pop, especially if you keep the white areas super white and the dark areas, you make sure you get those like extra dark, and that can give a lot of that could give the, hold on, let me see if I can get a little closer. That can make the object pop quite a bit, and that can make the object like really stand out. So you can do this for you know, like a lot of people will do this for an entire piece will be done in this way. But for, you know, for some people, they'll only do like 1 or 2 objects in the piece in this way to have the object stand out. And then, you know, you can use your colors to sort of to do more of this. But again, we're not really working too much on making sure that it's too perfect with the hatching and the cross hatching. You know, all I'm doing right now is to doing this exercise with light, shadow, and value. I don't know if I've done a video on value. I can, but simply explain the lighter a color is, the lighter the value, the darker it is, the darker. I mean, that's a little bit overly simplistic, but that's pretty good understanding of, you know, value, and there are value readers and value charts and stuff that you can get and use. But if you're just doing, you know, if you're just doing coloring or casual art, you might not necessarily need to splurge on that. You know me, I'm not about, you know, spending excessive. Oh, I say that. I am a little bit excessive, but I try to be excessive in the areas where I need to be. I try not to be excessive on things that are, you know, peripherals that are not really essential to what I'm doing. So that's the sort of idea. And I'm using 2 colors, not for any particular reason, but just because a lot of times using more than 1 color can make it, you know, really stand out with colored pencil, and can give it just a little bit of extra. So this gives it just, I was just checking to make sure it wasn't, I don't know what I was thinking. So you can see how these seem to glow from within, whereas these, it's very clear that the light is coming from outside. And when you're doing your coloring and you're doing your pages, you can sort of use that to your advantage a lot. And you can create special effects by choosing where the light source is. Now, for me personally, if I have a page that I'm coloring, or even if I'm doing freehand sketching, I think it really helps me personally in my own personal growth if I try to have the light from an external source and all coming from the same source. In this case, I was sitting like this way from the light, and it was really, I literally was, I literally had this on a wood table. This was a white, this was at a hotel where they had like a tea service. So this was like a free tea service that they had. So there was the actual china, coming in, and and so I was able to do that with a watercolor pencil. That's just me though. I've seen people do amazing work by, instead of using this, which is my preferred method of lighting objects, of using the second method of having an internal light source for each object. And there's other kinds of light sources too, where it will be, like I said earlier, where it's an external light source, but each object will have its own external light source. I've seen a lot of people do that. I tend not to like it in my coloring because I think it makes things look a little bit discombobulated, and I feel like it's not as sharp as if everything has the same like where everything is sort of uniform throughout, where there's either the same external light source and the same light source is coming from the picture. Another way that you can do this, actually I didn't talk about this till just now, but I can do another one of these videos where I can talk about using the eraser and how you can use the eraser to help you create the sort of the effect that you want to affect. And we can talk more in detail about erasing. You know what, that's a good idea for a future video. I'm just going to put that in there, and we can do some erase practicing, and so you can see where to use different kinds of erasers. But anyway, but for this, this is a good exercise to practice with, not just these sorts of shapes, but you can practice it with any shape, and you'll see that if you start to do your own freehand sketchings at any point, you'll see that a lot of objects have very simple, sort of very similar shapes. So this has like a little C shape, and this is another C shape, and this has like a U shape, and this is a circle. So you can use that to your advantage, that these things have, a lot of these things have sort of very simple shapes, and you can use that in your coloring to help improve your coloring. Anyway, this is I just thought I would do this video to see if people are interested in these sorts of exercises for patrons, as a way of giving you guys a special thank you. And I these exercises might not necessarily be a good fit for YouTube video, or there might be something that that like I think is kind of special, and I wanted to share with the patrons or whatever, since you guys have donated so much money. Some of you guys have been patrons since day one, which is amazing, and thank you guys so much for that. I definitely want to call out Amy, who's just been not only a good friend, but extremely supportive on the channel, and has just been really great in terms of getting advice from her, as well as being a patron supporter. But anyway, long story short, this is a really fun, easy exercise. You can do this with all sorts of shapes. You don't have to use circles. You can try other shapes, and you don't have to have a stencil. I just was like, for me, having a stencil, being able to practice this with a stencil is actually much easier than having to worry about drawing the objects and being distracted by whether or not the objects look like what I intended for them to look. So I'll probably end up getting some more stencils, and you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna give you guys the link to the stencil that I used. It's very thin plastic, but it gets the job done. And if you guys know of any other shape stencils like this, with maybe more or larger shapes, that would be awesome. Basic shapes like this that I can use to sort of work on, and to help improve my coloring and to practice on these sort of things. Anyway, as always, I'm super long-winded, and y'all don't need that in y'all life. Y'all already paying. Y'all don't need this extra me talking extra. That's not what y'all need. So anyway, thank you guys again for being patrons, and I will hold on. Let me see if I can wrangle one of the cats. Okay, I can't wrangle one of the cats right now, but I'm gonna add a cat video at the end of this. Maybe I'll make it a little longer, since I know you guys like the cat videos anyway. All right, I'll see you guys next time, and thank you guys again for your support. I love you guys. All right, bye. You see that? I don't know if you can see, but there's a mystery cat in there. I think it's a fat cat. I don't know if I should bother him. Should I leave him be? Oh, he wants to be left alone. All right, I'm gonna leave him alone. I'll go get the other cat. Oh, I'll go harass the other cat. This is the mic setup that I was using. That's on my wedding day. But look who doesn't care. Do you care, Bella? Oh, shit, she mad. Bella. Oh, she doesn't care. She's no time for your shenanigans. Get that phone out of my face. Oh, yeah. All right, I gotta go.